Welcome to episode 29 of From A to Global Z and part 2 of our mini-series, Go Your Own Way, Why Bands Break Up. I'm your host, Dr. Bill Lord. In episode 28, we talked about how money can drive a wedge between band members, resulting in a diverse range of nasty outcomes. And in that episode, I stated money was the main reason bands break up. Well, I may have egg on my face and need to rethink that declaration, but more on that later. In this episode, I'm taking a slightly different tack. We're going to explore why individual musicians leave their bands. But before we dive into that sticky pool of goo, it's Mic Talk time. And for this episode, we are listening to Warm Audio's WA47JR. And the WA47JR is a well-regarded condenser microphone. It's nicely priced and features 3 polar patterns, has a 10 decibel cut switch, a high-pass filter, and ships with a soft case, a shock mount, and a threaded mic stand clip, all for $300 USD. Warm Audio has developed a stellar reputation for producing excellent gear at competitive prices, and the WA47JR is no exception. The mic is well known for its remarkable detailed sound and flexibility. With its 3 polar patterns, 10 dB pad, and high-pass filter, it is designed to record just about everything and achieve great results. The recording world holds this mic in high regard, and give it a listen and see what you think. Now on with our show. Bands are made of groups of people, and people have individual personalities, dreams, desires, different ethics, needs, egos, goals, and varying levels of musical prowess. And if you're a solo act, the only personality in your band you have to deal with is your own. There are a wide range of reasons why a solo act may call it quits, but there are far more reasons and far more variations of circumstances that can lead not only to a band breaking up, but for individual musicians to pack up their gear and quit the band. There are parallels between why bands call it quits, and for this reason, I've opted to focus this episode on why an individual musician may leave a band. In preparation for this episode, I took the time to do some good old-fashioned scholarly type research. I spent a significant amount of time scouring an online musician forum dedicated to why musicians have left bands. And in fact, I read over 300 responses from musicians, many who left very descriptive explanations of why they left a band or 2 or 3 or more. And from these discussions, I categorized the reasons of why a musician may call it quits. And all told, I've come up with 19 categories of reasons to grab your gear and run for the closest exit. I will briefly cover these reasons from the least common to the most frequently cited reason for departure. And spoiler alert, money was not the number 1 reason listed. It was pretty high on the list, but it was not number 1. So let's dive in and see what causes all these unpleasantries. At number 19, the band required more time than I wanted to invest in it. And maybe in this case, the musician did not want to put in the time to rehearse or gig out as much as others, or maybe the band time spent with the band conflicted with family, college, or work, stuff like that. There can be a variety of reasons for this one. Number 18, a better half of one of the band members acted like he or she was the band manager. One person in the forum called this the Yoko syndrome, and no respect to Yoko intended, but most band members prefer to call their own shots. They don't like to be beholden to someone who is not even a part of the band or part of their management system. And I've actually been a victim of this one myself with a slight twist. I was part of a really talented band where the lead guitarist's mother and father liked to share their opinion on matters that were not appreciated by all the members of the band except for their son. And they were not hesitant to voice their opinions on a wide variety of band topics. And this is fine if the opinion is asked for, but no one asks them. And unwanted opinions can get to be quite annoying and sometimes fracturing. Number 17. A member or members of the band were racist, homophobic, or misogynistic. You would do well to align yourself with people who have a moral compass similar to your own. If I see this kind of activity from any band member, I'm out of there. That's me. Number 16, they left for greener band pastures, a better musical opportunity. Okay, so this one makes sense. And of course, leaving for this purpose can be tricky because you may have created really good relationships with the other band members. And this actually has happened multiple times with famous bands. And one that springs to mind is Randy Rhoads. He was a member of Quiet Riot and was left to go play with Ozzy. And it was a very tough call for him to make. He was best friends with Quiet Riot's lead singer, Kevin DuBrow. And so Kevin was really kind of crushed from what I understand. But sometimes you have to explore your options and go for, that big possibility. Number 15, a fellow bandmate stole their gear, their songs, or their money. Well, there's no excuse in this one. In one thread, a bass player wrote how his band's lead singer stole his Gibson Thunderbird bass, which was a gift from his father. Not to mention, that bass sells for about $3,000 these days. He then sold it promptly to pay for his drug habit. Obviously, this did not end well for the bass player, the singer, or the band. Number 14, interband romances got in the way. Ah, yes, the stuff of reality TV shows. You can probably imagine how this one might go. The lead guitarist and the vocalist of the band were married, but one is having an affair with the drummer, that kind of thing. And regardless, these romances gone bad almost always have an impact on the entire band. Number 13, it was just no longer fun to play with these dudes. Maybe they got bored of playing music. Maybe they all just wanted to play video games at rehearsal and drink beer, or maybe there was just no mojo going on. But this one can be attributed to a lot of factors. But when playing music is no longer fun, you really have to figure out if it's worth sticking around with the current batch of folks, or if you should leave and go find your fun again. Number 12, other members of the band were not dedicated. They were not practicing, showed up late for work, or they were lazy. Been there, done that. In one band, our drummer was always late for rehearsal, often late for gigs. It was not unusual that when he did show up, he did not practice the songs we were scheduled to rehearse, and that's incredibly frustrating. Number 11. It became too difficult to juggle other life obligations with band obligations. This one's sort of like number 19. Maybe band time conflicts with family, college, or work. Again, there can be a variety of reasons for this one. Several musicians wrote they just wanted to focus on being around their wife and kids and get off the band merry-go-round. They'd had enough and gigging had run its course. Number 10. Hand in hand with number 11, they just got tired of all the travel and late nights that came with travel and rehearsing. One musician got tired of driving an hour each way to rehearsal 3 times per week, then playing weekend late night gigs that did not allow him to get to bed until 4 a.m., and then he had to get up at 6 a.m. to go to work. So yeah, that would do it for me. Number 9, this one's kind of innate and boring. The musician moved. It's challenging to be in a band when you don't live in the same town. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff these days with virtual tech, but it would be really tough to be in a gigging band and not have the entire band live in the same town. Number 8, there was a lack of treating the band like a business and a lack of professionalism. They are preaching to the choir on this one. I was in several bands where I was a self-appointed manager as no one else wanted the job. And the other band members refused to acknowledge that being a musician being in a band was in fact a business, and that's a big mistake. Being in a band has financial obligations, and if the band members don't recognize this, it's only a matter of time that fuses will blow over due to a number of financial situations. But sure enough, once we got paid for a gig and I presented the paid out receipts that had to be paid before the guys got their share, I always got the stink eye from the band. It's not fun. Somebody had to be the grown-up, and that was me. And by the way, yes, you do have to show up on time for sound check. You have to show up on time for your set, and wherever else you're expected, including rehearsals. It's just being professional. Doesn't mean you can't have fun. You can still be professional and have fun playing your music. Now we come to the most popular responses to the question, why did you leave a band? And here we go. At number 7, they did not share the same taste of music. This to me is completely logical, and honestly, why would you even go there? If you aren't feeling the music you're playing, it is only a matter of time that you'll want to go and find another band that is more in line with the music that you enjoy and prefer making. If you enjoy playing polka music, don't sign up with a death metal band unless you like playing death metal or perhaps death polka. I don't know if that's a thing. Yes, I've been in a band that broke up for this very reason. One of the guitarists and the front man wanted to leave our rock band to focus on Southern rock, while the other guitarist was holding out all his best writing material for his solo career, which never went anywhere. So, yeah, time to fold that hand of cards. Number 6, they did not share the same professional goals. Sure, this makes sense. Do you want to just get together and play for fun and toss back a few delightful beverages? Do you want to play an occasional local gig? Or do you want to try to land the elusive record deal and tour big stadiums internationally? Align yourself with others who have similar goals. Just makes sense. Number 5, money. There it is. There's the money. It's at number 5, folks. Too many free gigs, too little return on investment of time, equipment, and other expenses that go with being a band. Let's face it, you have to pay for gas, strings, drum heads, room and board, van repairs, maybe rehearsal space, promo, marketing materials, phone bills, a web page. You get the picture. A band comes with expenses, and if you're depending on a band paycheck to survive, you better make sure the band you're in has the same ambitions and philosophies about the money as you do. Musicians should get paid for all the work and material they invest in their craft. Unfortunately, many don't, or certainly not enough. Number 4, not all members of the band were equally talented. And actually, the majority of the musicians who listed this as the reason for departure said they left bands because they felt they were at a higher level of performance than their bandmates. Now, that said, a few stated the music they were playing was above their head and they could not hang with their bandmates. They had the integrity to recognize this and step down. It may be humbling, but it is honorable and important to recognize your limitations. Your bandmates will really appreciate this. Okay, here we go, folks. The top 3 reasons why musicians leave bands. Number 3, you knew it was coming sooner or later, alcohol and or drugs. Yes, it's a real problem within this industry, whether you're in a garage band or in an internationally famous band. Drugs and alcohol constantly tear people, friends, families, and bands apart, not to mention the mile-long list of talented musicians who have died as a result. Really no more need to say anything more about this one. You know where I'm coming from. The top 2 issues are interrelated, and by now they should come as no surprise what they may be. And number 2, personality conflicts. This one can be summed up in one word: drama. Again, it's tough to feed the needs and find a happy medium for multiple unique personalities, gig after gig, van ride after van ride, rehearsal after rehearsal. It's really a wonder there's any bands at all. And the number 1 reason musicians leave bands: domineering narcissistic overlords. This reason is legendary, and there are tons of examples to be had. One common theme is the band has an individual who's always complaining about the mistakes of others, but refuses to acknowledge their own mistakes. There's one post in the band forum where a musician is doing a live performance, and the narcissist asks the crowd to help the bass player find the proper tempo and rhythm. That's, ouch, really humiliating. In another post, a musician was literally told to shut up, his opinion didn't matter, by a domineering bandmate, and his opinion just didn't matter. Wow, that's really harsh. Then there's a story of a band member who punched the bar manager in the nose because the manager scolded the band for starting their set late. That's usually not very good for your reputation. Then, of course, you have your control freak tendencies, where they say stuff like, we have to rehearse here, we have to rehearse at this time, we have to work on my original songs, none of yours, and we are not going to record our rehearsal sessions. I refuse to play that venue. We have to play these gigs, even though they don't pay, etc., etc. So, like I said, there's no shortage of examples on this one. So, there you go. 19 reasons to leave a band. And the main takeaway is when you form a band or join a band that's already up and running, Talk about these important issues on the front end with your bandmates. Clear the air before you invest a lot of time, money, sweat, and tears preparing to perform or record. Try your best to find out how your bandmates feel about these 19 potential barriers that might rear their ugly heads. And if you can have this transparent conversation on the front end, you might just save yourself and the other musicians from developing into a dysfunctional musical family. And who knows, you might actually find a band that fits like a glove and one that meshes well with what you would like the band experience to be all about. And wouldn't that be fantastic? I hope you check out the next episode from A to Global Z, where we will continue to explore the topic of why bands break up. And until then, wishing you peace through music, I am Bill Lord.